Economist Dr. Loren Scott, longtime economist, was LSU professor. You've got a report out there. You were here in town Friday to talk about it, about economic growth in the Shreveport-Bossier market. I think some were surprised to hear that. Where are you getting these digits, these numbers?
Well, of course, we keep up with the Shreveport-Bossier economy, have been for 40 years, for that matter. And your economy has been in a slide, really, with the exception of a couple of years, has been in a slide since 2008. Matter of fact, you peaked back in '08 and about 13,500 jobs below that. But as it turns out, we kind of see you turning around that going into 18 and 19. Because there's some good signs out there. One of the really important ones is the Haynesville Shale. You're starting to see more activity in the Haynesville Shale again. The Haynesville Shale had rig activity had dropped from about 140 down to 16, and now it's suddenly just gone up to 42. That's a long ways from 140, but it's still a nice bump upward, and so that's good.
What do you mean by those numbers, the 42 number? What do you mean by that?
That's the number of rigs that are operating in the Haynesville Shale play, the number that are drilling out there right now.
Okay, let me ask you, you talk about 1,500 high-paying jobs. What sectors? I guess the Haynesville Shale would be one, but that's not the only one, right?
No. CSRA should be adding some jobs. They're the people that do the technology work for the federal. A lot of the technology work for the federal government. So they're expected to add upwards of 450 jobs, I think, over the next 2 years. You got Barksdale. I mean, now that you got a 4-star out at Barksdale, so the 3-star, that is attracting more jobs to Barksdale. So that's another good positive sector for you. And then, of course, the port of Caddo-Bossier is a real bright spot. People, a lot of people may not know this. There's 1,500 people employed out there right now, and they've got a couple of good potential clients on the hook, so I think you might be getting some good news about some expansions going on out there over the next 2 years.
How much work did you do on studying? We have to talk about the old GM plant. There had been a lot of hopes of Elio Motors. That's beginning to look like that's not going to happen. Are you seeing any signs of other companies having an interest here?
Not that I know of. As a matter of fact, that's been a real disappointment, hasn't it? I mean, you would hope you'd have a great facility out there, and that you would have you would have something happen that would really cause that to take off, because it is a great facility. Now, you did have the Hyundai people come in, or Clovis America subsidiary. They've come in, and they are creating about 150 jobs out there to outfit imported vehicles for the Kia folks, and that's 150 jobs. They're not real high-paying jobs. They're considerably below the statewide average for jobs, but at least you got something going on. I'm just hopeful that you got the great asset there. Maybe you'll attract something big in the next couple of years. I'm not aware of anything on the hook right now. And Elio, of course, has been a big disappointment.
Dr. Scott, let me ask you that there's a lot of people that are concerned about when our kids and our grandchildren go off to college and then find jobs. They're not coming back to Shreveport-Bossier. What are some things that we do need to do here to change that, to say these young people want to come back to Shreveport-Bossier and raise their families?
Well, of course, I think the key thing that would bring them back are jobs. Okay, having family here is always a draw, but you got to have jobs. And as I mentioned before, you've been in a slide since '08. That's not good, and so you need a reversal in that. And I think that you're in line for that. But you need to get, I mean, really, the number of jobs we're forecasting for you folks, I think, is the fourth fastest in the state, the fifth fastest in the state, is good. I mean, these are good numbers for you folks, and you're starting, I think, back on the right trend. If the Haynesville Shale takes off the way I think it might take off, we spent a lot of time talking about that on Friday. If the Haynesville Shale takes off just a little bit more, there are a lot of what economists call multiplier effects associated with that. Those are good, high-paying jobs in the oil and gas extraction sector, and when those people get paid that money, they end up spending it in car dealerships and restaurants, grocery stores, et cetera. So there's a nice, strong multiplier effect associated with those jobs, and so I think that'll help Shreveport going forward as well.
What if you're able to comment? I have a number of friends up in the Michigan area and the Rust Belt up there, and the same thing has happened in Michigan. All the kids that are graduating and from Michigan are moving to Chicago. Not that we're the size of Chicago, but what is Chicago doing right that we may or may not be doing in this area, if you're able to comment?
Well, I mean, I think there's some. Number one, it's just the draw of the big city in that particular case, because I don't think there's. Illinois is not a great growth area right now. I mean, people may be moving to Chicago because there are a lot of big firms there, and there's a lot of activity in Chicago. But Illinois is not one of the great growth spots in the United States. They've got lots of trouble. They got serious tax issues. They got serious budget shortfalls, and they got the mother of all crime issues in the Chicago area. So I think kids are moving there mainly because the big city draw, all the museums, the ball games, and all that sort of thing that's associated there. I really think that in y'all's case, you just got to create the job, and you got to keep the jobs going. And I will tell you, how the state solves the fiscal cliff is going to be important. Because it may sound really good to say, look, we got to share this equally between business and industry, but folks need to understand that the decision about where to locate for a firm is really a matter of math. And bottom line, it comes to math.
Would you anticipate that sales tax is going to be extended? Would you anticipate that temporary sales tax is going to be extended?
I would. I really think they're going to kick the can down the road. I think that's the way they're going to do it. And if they, this ends up being additional taxes for business, that's not going to help us in terms of attracting new industry. And unfortunately, I personally think that the governor made a mistake when he changed the nature of the 10-year industrial tax exemption. I think that was not a good move for our state. I wish that could be reversed. I don't think it's going to in this administration. But that wasn't helpful to us at all. But again, I think right now Shreveport has some momentum going for it, given what's going on. Now, you've taken some hits. You've lost the express jet out at the airport, and unlike your neighbors directly to the south in Lake Charles, your gaming industry has been, it's been shedding jobs for the last 3 years. It's lost about 1,000 jobs because of the competition from the Indian casinos in Oklahoma. If you go down to Lake Charles, where they don't have that competition, in that same period of time, their gaming employment is up about 41%. So it's really too bad that the Indian casino issue came along when it did, because you had a great gaming market before that.
Dr. Loren Scott, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Y'all have a good day.